Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. Today, our guest talks about the power of prayer and talks about manifesting. And I feel like I have manifested this. I have wanted to speak to this gentleman for years now. He is an icon in the shows that we love. He cut his teeth early on by producing shows that we dearly love, seasons of Real Housewives of New Jersey, Real Housewives of Atlanta, and then took that to the next level where he has his own production company. And now he puts his stamp on all of these shows that we love over on OWN, Love and Marriage, all those franchises, We TV, Bold and Bougie, but there's even more. He is also at the top of his game in podcasting. His hit podcast, Reality with the King. I mean, these are amazing episodes. I just listened to the one about the Potomac news this week. Just fantastic. But not just that, he is now taking it on tour, just like Beyonce. Reality with the King live tour. There was sold out shows earlier in January, and now there's going to be a whole run of shows coming up in April. You got Jersey with Teresa Giudice. You've got Atlanta with Tamar Braxton. You've got Irvine, California with Teddy, and Washington, D.C. with the cast of Love and Marriage D.C. Man, this guy is a legend. The one, the only, Carlos King. Carlos, thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you for having me. That's a great intro. Oh my gosh. Awesome.
Listen, and also a shout out to the raindrops out there if you're listening for the first time. I mean, I really got to say, you really have your pulse on all of this. You also have such a production language that you're able to take us behind the scenes and kind of put two and two together. And I think, mend those gaps that the audience sometimes doesn't understand. Was there any trepidation on doing a podcast or even into a live tour of almost kind of revealing sometimes how the sausage is made?
There absolutely was tons of trepidation, which is why it took me years to agree to do a podcast, because as you know, the podcast industry has been out for many, many, many years. It's now becoming super popular, but I've been approached to do podcasts back in 2018, 19, and I never felt the time was right. And if I'm being completely honest, I wasn't comfortable or confident to talk about my opinions on the genre that I love so much, because I didn't want to offend people. I did not want certain people to think that I'm biased. So I was very afraid to do it.
Well, Carlos, the fan base is really normal. There's no reason to be afraid. We're a completely normal group of people that you shouldn't be scared of. LOL.
Right? No, that's the thing. There's no such thing as social media trolls. The fan base, they're not, as aggressive with their commentary. No, you have nothing to worry about. What are you talking about? So it wasn't until 2021 that I said, I think I'm ready. And I'm so glad I said it, because it's been a fun ride, and it's nice to have a producer who worked on some of your favorite shows during those iconic moments of Teresa flipping the table or Nene Leakes and Kim Zolciak. It's nice to have somebody speak to those moments, but also have credibility in this business. So it's been fun.
Yeah. You're what we call a reliable narrator. I always call it like the term reliable narrator, and there's one reliable narrator on every reality show. I think those are like key components of a reality show. And you're that in terms of this business. I mean, I was just listening to that Potomac one you did this week, and there were just so many little moments that I hadn't even thought of that I was like, oh, this is brilliant in terms of Mia. You were saying, Mia, this is her moment. Mama Mia, you said, this is her moment. And I love the way you looked at it as this is an opportunity, even though you're sad about Candace leaving, and you had three people that you were like, even before these announcements were made, you're like, I think three people should be leaving. And now we got the announcement, one official and one unofficial, of Robin and Candace leaving. You spoke very highly of Candace, and you said something that I didn't even think about, is that, she might be even expanding her brood. Who knows? I mean, she's killing it in the music industry, but I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, listen, Candace is who I call a force multiplier, right?
Explain to the audience what that is. I love when you say that.
Yes. Okay. So the force multiplier, Ryan, is the person on a reality show. Let's say female. It is the female on a reality show who is able and capable of bringing energy into the room and asking tough questions, pulling material out of people, shifting conversations. It's a very important job. So the force multipliers of our fan favorites are like Nene Leakes, Kyle Richards, Teresa Giudice. It's they're normally called the queen bee of the show, but we're all inclusive here, so all of them are queens. So I call them the force multiplier, and that's exactly who Candace is. And she so funny and so talented. And to me, Ryan, a quintessential housewife, a woman that comes from money, a pageant girl, married a man who makes
On
less
the come up.
money.
Yeah.
Yes, on the come up. That's a great way of saying it. On the come up. And I love Chris Bassett. He's so nice and he's such a good character on the show as well. So to know that we don't have this wordsmith on the show anymore, at least like she said, for the time being, it is a missing element. And I do think, Ryan, we're going to feel the loss of Candace next season.
But it's a group setting with the housewives, and if these ladies are not being able to participate in effective conversations with her anymore, I see that there is a time and place. I really was shocked to hear it, but after watching this season or watching parts of this season, because I thought it was dreadfully slow at times, unfortunately. But it's like it's like sports teams, like you love it regardless. Like I'm going down with any ship, but that's the weird thing. But then on the other hand, Robin. Why do you think that hasn't officially been announced yet? You made a point that this was released by the Jasmine brand and that they were very shady and that usually it'll be like sources say. They said production sources say. And I was cracking up that you pointed that out because that means somebody at Bravo. But why don't you think we haven't got an official announcement? Has Robin not woken up yet to make the official announcement? What's going on here?
Well, she's awake. Ryan, you are so funny. Robin is not in REM sleep right now. She's wide awake. No, listen, Ryan, we're talking about housewives here. So Robin is not trying to attach her moment onto Candace this week. Right?
Yeah, okay, yes.
I mean, Ryan, we're still talking
You got
about
a People exclusive with Dave Quinn. I mean, come on. Yeah.
I know, my buddy, my pal. So listen, I 100% believe Robin isn't coming back next season. I believe the rumor is true. But Robin, and listen, I agree with her. I will never attach my situation to another cast member. So this was Candace's week to reveal her moment. And I think Robin may confirm it next week. She wants the Candace dust to settle. The interesting part, though, Ryan, is I'm not sure Robin may get the same social media reaction that Candace got.
Yeah, I don't think so. And by the way, my heart goes out to Robin because even though I don't think she's the most dynamic character, you do grow, you do learn you live with these people. We watch them in our homes week in, week out, the family, the one of it all, and I'm like, where does that story go from here? But I do think it's a fascinating decision because I'm so curious, just like this season with Erica Jane and Lisa Rinna, I can't wait to see Giselle on her own a little bit and see how that affects the other relationships.
Oh my God, it's music to my ears to know that Giselle has to form real relationships with these women and not rely on the crutch that was Robin Dixon. So I call them Batman and Robin. Obviously, Robin is Robin and Giselle is Batman. So you have to break the group. I mean, Destiny's Child even broke up and Beyonce became a big solo star.
Wait, so you think potentially Robin has a Cowboy Carter in her? Is that what you're saying?
Well, she is riding off to the sunset now, Ryan. Now that she got the pink slip, so it's an opportunity for Giselle to show that she has what it takes to be a solo star, in the sense of not having her background singer Robin Dixon there to sing her ad libs.
Would you be able to say the third person you speculate about? You have not said the third person that you speculate about. Who would be the third person in your mind? Are you able to say that yet? For the raindrops and the baddies. I know you would probably want to save that for your show, but I was very curious who the third one would be for you.
I listen. I'll say this: I had 3. Candace was not on my list at all, so I'm being very honest about that. I want to see first, though, Ryan. I have to watch the first 2 parts, not all 3. Give me until the first 2 parts of the reunion, and by the second part, I can tell you who will be leaving. I have an idea, but
is she a doctor?
No.
Okay.
No. So my good friend Teddy Mellencamp and Tamara Judge, they want Dr. Wendy to leave. I disagree wholeheartedly. I love Dr. Wendy. I know there's people out there who don't, and that's fine. I don't think she's going to be dismissed, and I don't want her to be dismissed. I'll give you a hint. This person is sitting on the end of a couch.
Okay, great. That's perfect. We got it. Okay. Well, listen, from a production standpoint, you just brought up the interesting thing about watching the reunion and how much are careers made and lost at reunions after a season. Have you seen them, like come back? I think we've all seen them like, wow, really good reunion performance. Is that a big part of a Housewives thing? And sometimes you Housewives get into their minds thinking, I got to keep my job. And so they throw out a bunch of stuff. I mean, we've seen props now being brought out all the time. I mean, is it getting ridiculous, or do you think the right amount of pressure should be put on a reunion performance?
It is getting a bit ridiculous. I come from the school of organic moments when Kenya Moore got the fan and she was the first woman to bring a prop. And then next season, she brought the bullhorn. I know that the reunion is the Super Bowl for these housewives. It's your Tom Brady moment, right? You want to win. You want to win, and you know that if you aren't giving your best performance per se, then more than likely you're on the chopping block. So it is important. That's why, Ryan, you see these women act so crazy at reunions and desperate because listen, let's talk about it. On Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I think we saw Dorit and Crystal behave in a way that was like, okay, you want your job back.
Yeah, Crystal came to play, yeah.
Yeah, Crystal was like, I need this job and I don't want to be without it. So although I'm boring 98.1% of the time during the season, I'll make up for it at the reunion. And even Dorit, who I used to love so much, when she
in a slump.
Yeah, when she revealed Kyle's personal text messages where Kyle is like, I don't want to fight with you. Like, we're really friends. And in Kyle's defense, Ryan, we didn't see Dorit and Kyle argue all season. So in Kyle's defense, it's like, let's focus on what happened during the season. Me and you are in a weird place, but let's figure it out. Not that moment. So to add insult to injury and to fucking add sense to what Kyle is saying, confirming it, you reveal what she said to you to Erica Jane, and then Erica Jane, who I love, is like, that's manipulation. So yeah, that was a performance of getting her job back. Well,
listen, I want to tell the audience, you're one of the top unscripted reality TV show producers, according to the Hollywood Reporter. So as a producer of all of these shows now, and you've seen how history has been made, as a producer, wouldn't you be like, yeah, Dorit, give me that text message. Give me that text message. I love it. Like, as a producer, you want those moments, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, the good thing about my podcast, Reality with the King, is the fact that, Ryan, I'm able to wear 2 hats, right? It's the producer hat. So you're 1000% correct. As a producer, if I ask you like, well, girl, since you brought it up, can I get those receipts? Absolutely. Let me show it to my audience. Now, as a human being, right?
Yeah.
I thought what Dorit did was so deplorable. But as a producer, I thought it was great for the show. So
Yeah,
and that's the beauty of it.
well, that's the thing, and I think that's what they get. A lot of people get frustrated with too, is that the Real Housewives. If you look back at OC, it almost looks like a documentary that would win an Oscar now. But now it looks like the X-Men. Like everybody's just like, I mean, it's wild. You've seen what the changes like that they've all gone through, and they really are playing at such a level. Like it's Housewives on steroids.
Yes.
But I want to know. I think that's the change too, is that sometimes I want to know that these people do have real relationships. I want to see those real relationships. And that's why, to your point, when you were talking about the Mia Gordon scene at the very end, where even production got involved, you get goosebumps. Like the audience knows this is real. This is messy. This is sloppy. This is not scripted in a sense. And I want more of those real moments. I think that's the thing that we're watching now is Kyle, who is like one of my OG favorites. But I also will say, Kyle seems like she has a full-time job trying to keep off storylines off the show. Like it seems like she is, and that's the thing as the audience is now we're using your podcast, we're using other shows to fill in those blanks because we feel that something is not right. We feel that, and that Dorit thing was a perfect example of they do have a real relationship. Just Kyle doesn't want to show that part of it on the show. Do you like that part is sometimes frustrating as an audience member?
Oh, it's super frustrating. One thing about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which, listen, I love the show, they struggle a lot with being open. We've seen that. We've seen it, obviously, with Kyle dealing with her divorce. We still don't know what Mauricio did to...
That's buying Beverly Hills season 3, Carlos. That's where we're going to find out.
I know. You know what's so funny, Ryan? I'm on episode 5. So I'm getting closer, hopefully. To
episode 9. Episode 9 is when a lot of stuff goes down, and I binged it all last week, and I said I wasn't going to do it, and then I was like, wow, I was kind of fascinated that I was like, I feel like I was learning more about the Umanskis than I did on Beverly Hills, and to me, that was fascinating, but as a producer, would you have been enraged if you worked on Beverly Hills and saw this coming out in a certain way that you were not able to control the narrative anymore?
Absolutely. Now, don't spoil it for me, Ryan. I'm going to finish it.
They split up. They split up. I hate to spoil it to you. They split up. Yeah.
Okay, as long as I know that part. No, listen. If I was a Bravo executive, I would not be happy because you know what it was for me, Ryan? Watching Kyle in a different light. She seemed... Let me know if you agree with me. She seemed way more relaxed, way more comfortable, way more herself, so likable, so refreshing. Mauricio is actually like a fun guy. He looks amazing.
Yes.
He looks so great. And I'm like, it's taking me to watch Buying Beverly Hills to know more about the Umanskis versus the show that Kyle has been on for 10 plus seasons. I would definitely be pissed.
Well, just even as a viewer, I was like, Bravo's my home team. I feel like I'm cheating on my home team here. But you're right. Like Mauricio's out there is like, Love Bean, let's party it up in Aspen. Yeah, Love Bean. Like it is so different. And I'm not saying it's a perfect reality show because it isn't. It's just very interesting. And in this day and age, I talk about 360 viewing. It's not just the show anymore. It's like being on Twitter. It's being on your podcast. It's reading Dave Quinn's book, Not All Diamonds and Rose. It's all of these things that the viewer has to like a VR experience. I do want to talk about your show because there's a million questions I want to ask you. You are a legend, but like in terms of your live show, why bring this to the stage? What do you bring to the stage? You already have this amazing energy. You have amazing guests. What can we expect if we get a ticket?
Yeah, so when you get a ticket, go to my website, Kingdom Reign, REIGNENT.com. That's
and all that information is going to be in the show notes. I'll also put it in the Instagram and all that stuff when we release this.
Yeah, so please look into that. But Ryan, it's a party. I call it sort of like an after hours in West Hollywood.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Meets Vegas, right? We have a live DJ, food, drinks, and what you're getting at my Reality with the King live tour, you're going to see your favorite reality star in a different light. Just like we talked about seeing Kyle Richards in a different light on Netflix because she doesn't have to worry about these other women coming for her relationship. So she's much more at ease. It's that personality and that temperature of easiness that you're going to get out of my stars with Teresa Giudice, Teddy Mellencamp, Tamara Judge, Tamar
Braxton,
the ladies
Love
of
and
Love
Marriage.
XTC. It's really, Ryan, a party. It's a co-ed party. I want husbands to bring their wives and also have fun because we are going to have great conversations. We're going to spill some tea, behind the scenes tea, but also just enjoy these ladies who we've grown to love and to really, at least for an hour and 30 minutes, Ryan, I want the audience to be captivated by the love that I have for them and also the love that they have for me, and just seeing like two best friends on stage having a chat.
That's what I was going to say, is that it's the relationship also with you. And you know now from like just the podcast, the fandom that you have developed, like it's this really interesting parasocial relationship that gets developed where you have so many new fans that didn't even realize you were doing all of these things. And now you're like, oh my God, I get to listen to this guy 2 times a week and now go support him with a live show. But what I love is that you do have real relationships with these people. You can bring things out of Teresa that most people can't. You can have conversations with Tamra about production and about things. There's a shorthand language that I wouldn't be able to have that you can have. And you do have like just this, I mean, you're hosting your own reunions now. You have this energy about you. And that's what excites me about these shows. I mean, is it something that you were nervous to do?
No, I wasn't nervous. No, because I mean, listen, as you can tell, there's not a shy bone in my body. So I wasn't nervous to do. If anything, I am thrilled to present to the world a side of these women that I just don't feel like they've seen on their shows. Because listen, to tape a reality show, Ryan, amongst other women, is intimidating, it's competitive, it's fun, but it's also draining a lot of times, right? And you see that once the reunion happens. So I'm excited that I'm able to showcase my friendships that I have with these ladies to the world. And honestly, I want the audience, Ryan, to come out of this live show feeling like I know Teresa a little bit better. And it's nice to see her comfortable and have fun and not be stressed out. That's the goal for each show.
Will Louis be there as well?
I'm pretty sure he will be. I'm pretty sure. I love Louis. We were DMing yesterday, funny enough. So I'm pretty sure he will make an appearance.
I always wonder if they get stressed out at this time of year because Jersey's about to relaunch, you know, like all of the discourse will get started up all over again. And we see that little tiny scene in the trailer about Louis' money again. And I just wonder if for them, it's like going into battle each season. Not even after the shooting. Sure, going into the shooting's a battle, but then once it gets released, because the audience, the memes, the discourse on podcasts, it all starts up again. I always wonder how nervous they get or if they get excited.
No, they don't get excited all the time because they have to relive that moment. And the audience, so it's one thing to experience that for the 3-4 months of filming. You're living in it in real time. And then you're done filming, and then you're back to some sense of normalcy without the cameras, right? And the moment you're able to settle on what happened, you now have to relive that moment for another 4 months while it's airing. You have to deal with the tweets from the fans, also from the women defending their actions. And then, like you said, you got to do interviews. So it's an exhausting period for these ladies. And that's why my live show is going to be fun and not draining.
Well, I mean, in this day and age, everybody talks and we have the reality reckoning now and all of these things coming forth. And I'm always for better mental health care and things of that nature. But would you recommend new women going on these shows still? Because I think they think it is this huge launching pad. In some ways, it very much is. It's like SNL. Like I always compare it to like actors auditioning for SNL now. Like they're cast. They're not natural friend groups anymore. And then your entire history is up for prosecution by the fan base. Like in this day and age, do the pros still outweigh the cons, in your opinion?
For these women, absolutely. The pros outweigh the cons because it's sort of like being an actress in Hollywood. When you're over 40, the roles are limited. You have to now become a producer or you have to wear other hats.
There's only one Meryl Streep. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that's why Reese Witherspoon got Hello Sunshine and started to, produce movies with her production company. For a lot of these housewives, they're over 40. And some of them never had a job because they were a real housewife. So to come from obscurity to now being internationally famous, and to now have a business and to make some money on your own without relying on your husband to give you an allowance every month, right? That empowers these women because they're showing the world that there is life after 40 for women, and they're doing it in a way that fulfills them. So those are all the pros of it. Listen, the con is obviously, it's the social media trolls, it's the judgment, it's the threats, it's a lot of darkness to it. But once they sort of realize the blessings that's coming their way, then they're able to focus more on that.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And it also must be still such a powerful forum that even when people are like off the show for a while, it seems like there's this cottage industry of wanting to get back on the show. We wanted to get back there. I mean, we saw Tamra have that break. She got back on the show and she was doing the podcast before that. And now everything's kind of lining up for Tamra. She did the Traders, all of this stuff. But it is interesting to see when they get off the show, you have this whole group of ladies that I think we can all name that like are desperately year after year trying, getting out there, doing interviews, just trying to keep their name out there. And that's the thing. That's the real reality show or documentary I want to see is life after housewife trying to get back on.
Well, yes. And it's sort of like Kathy Griffin's My Life on the D List, right? Remember that show?
Oh God, I love that show.
Yeah, it was sort of like watching this who I consider to be this iconic comedian.
Yeah.
That has some success on network television with Suddenly Susan, with Brooke Shields, and you saw her trying to like get off the D and get to the A. And life after Housewives is hard. A lot of these women are my friends. A lot of these women, when they aren't asked to come back another season, it's devastating. They don't have an identity. And this is not me making fun of it. It's me just telling you the real Ryan. They feel lost. They don't know how to grasp with I've had international fame. And now I don't have that. And the one person who I felt articulated this the best was Bronwyn from the OC Housewives.
OC, Bronwyn Winter Burke, yeah.
She said, Ryan, on Kate Casey's podcast, she said, I don't know who I am without this job. Mind you, Ryan, she had it for only 2 seasons. So imagine these women like a Tamara who had it for 10 plus seasons, right? She said, I feel like a failure. I don't have an identity. This entire show was my life. And she has 9 kids. That's the sort of mental anguish these women go through without.
Can sometimes that then get into misplaced anger against the network and the show itself? Is that sometimes what we're seeing, or do you think all of this is very?
Listen, every case is different, obviously. But yeah, I definitely listen. It's sort of like a bad breakup, right?
Yeah.
When a guy breaks up with you, oftentimes, you get upset and you go to his house and you damage items or you cut his tires, you know,
As
or
you do. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, or is that me talking about my early 20s?
We can cut this. We can cut this part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's just me, but it's not easy. I wish I'm able to show the world like what that feels like. It's not. Ryan, look at me. It's not pretty. It's devastating for them, and some become very desperate.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're the Housewives whisperer, and also you need a Housewives boot camp pre-casting and post-show. You need both of these support groups. Listen, just to let the audience know, if for some reason this is the first time you're hearing, in which there's no way this is, how did you get your start? Like, I mean, like you're back in the day doing Atlanta and Jersey. Where do you come from? How did you get here?
Yeah, listen, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan.
Just like
Left.
Jax Taylor. All right.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. We claim him. No, so I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, and I moved to New York City in my early 20s because I wanted to, of course, get into the business of journalism because I studied that in college. So I interned at The View,
Wow.
rest in peace, Barbara Walters,
Uh,
and various other places. Once reality TV started its boom. And for my era, it was the boom of The Hills, the
yeah. Yeah.
Laguna
Yeah.
Beach spinoff on MTV. And I was sucked into it. I was like, this Heidi Spencer, Lauren Conrad, this is amazing television. And I would tell everybody around me, like, I love this show. Long story short, an opportunity came to me, talk about manifestation and your words have power. A woman who I was working with had the opportunity to work on this reality show in Atlanta. I'm living in New York City at the time, and so is she. And she came to me and said, "Would you like to be an associate producer on this reality show? Because all you do is talk about the hills." And I said,
That's all it takes? Is it
"I'm
that
telling
back in
you."
the day? It was like you just talked about the hills? That's amazing. Yeah.
She said, "You want to come to Atlanta? This is a true story, Ryan." I'm like, "To do a reality show? What is it?" She said, "I don't know. They're calling it the Ladies of Hot Atlanta." And I said, "I guess." So I went to Atlanta for 2 months, and the show became The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And Ryan, I was hooked, and my trajectory increased from the associate producer to ultimately executive producer on that particular show. And the reality bug hit me, brother, and I
That's what I was
have.
wondering. Like, so you felt even while they were shooting, like that first season of Atlanta, I revisited that recently, and it was, I mean, it just took me back because I watched those shows day and date when they initially came on, and to rewatch it, and you're just like, how far this genre has come. But when you're out there watching Nene, and Kim Zolciak do their thing, you knew in that moment this was something. You were learning how the business worked yourself, but you knew this was fascinating in that moment.
Yes, I was, like I said, this young, inexperienced producer. The first week of filming, Sheree Whitfield had a party at her house. And Nene and Kim, they changed at the gas station,
Yeah.
and which is what you do apparently. And they're walking into Sheree's home. Nene's name isn't on the list. And Nene was cussing and fussing. And in that moment, I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be a big show. I knew that was the moment that I knew, because I never in my life seen somebody's name not on a list to a party, and B, yell and get angry and leave in such an uproar that I said, I didn't see Lauren Conrad do that, not getting into like Ledoux. Like, that doesn't happen on
And that's
the.
when it was real. That's when people were just doing that just to do it. They didn't know that that would be a good scene. Like Nene's not in there. No, that was just Nene. That's who she is. And that's why it was so good.
that was, and that's what I'm missing as I watch reality TV, is that organic inhibitions of like just being yourself. I do feel like nowadays people are playing to the cameras, they're pandering to social media. Like you said, Nene in that moment, if cameras were not there, Nene would have done that, period. Right?
Yes.
It was, and that's what's missing.
Well, I mean, and then you go over to Jersey, and like I know I said this book already, but you guys, that Dave Quinn, Not All Diamonds and Rose, it's an oral retelling of the history of these amazing years at Bravo, and you're in it. You're in it multiple times, and you talk about like even the Jersey of it all, like even the table flip. Like, is that then like Atlanta, like it's like a different version of Atlanta, but it's still the same magic because it's based around a character. It's based around Teresa. It's based around a real honest moment. But then it turns into this legendary thing. And it's like, I always say, if I had a time machine, I would go back to those moments. Like, I wouldn't do anything to help the world. I would go back to those moments to be in a restaurant and see the table flip, just a background actor.
Yes, no, listen, it was ahead of its time. And once again, we had no idea it was going to be such an iconic moment that was going to occur. So here I am, again, a junior producer, having the responsibility of making sure Danielle Staub had the book. Danielle wore a little black dress. She hands me the book upon arrival. We, the producers, decided like, when is the perfect moment to like hand Danielle the book? I'm the only male producer amongst this female producing team. And they said, are you able to like hand Danielle the book? I'm like, I can do it, but I can't. And this is like season 1 back in 2009. There was no like breaking the fourth wall. It was unheard of. So I have this like book, this hardcover book. And I get on my knees and I like crawl underneath the table so that nobody can see me. I tap Danielle's kneecap to motion to her, I have the book. So when you see Danielle put the book on the table, if you watch that scene again, you see Danielle look, and all of a sudden, a book appears in her hand and she drops it on the table. I'm the person that handed Danielle that book.
Listen, I mean, in the movie of your life, there's going to be some actor playing young Carlos King on his knees doing that scene again. That's going to be happening. And by the way, I have that hardcover of Cop Without a Badge, and every holiday I'll throw it down on the table just in case, just to get the conversation going in a different direction because it's an iconic prop now. So you have all of this success, but then you take it to the next level. Like, I mean, I know the podcast, the live tour, all of this stuff, but you executive produce all of these shows, Love and Marriage, multiple franchises, Bold and Bougie. Like, why stay in this unscripted storytelling format? Is it just because you dearly love it this much?
I do, Ryan. I love reality television. I love the docu-soap is what we call it, the ensemble, female-led entrepreneurs. I can't get enough of it. I love taking people who are regular, for all intents and purposes, and putting them on camera and showcasing their real life and seeing them have success courtesy of being on the show. I love telling stories. I'm a true storyteller. My idols are Aaron Spelling, Norman Lear, Shonda Rhimes.
Oh, Norman Lear.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a storyteller. And I believe in telling authentic stories. So it's something that I really enjoy doing, and I can't get enough of it. I really can't.
Where are we headed, though? I mean, like you were there in the beginning, and like I said, we've seen so many changes happen, and it seems like it just gets more insane and more insane. And the amazing thing about the early days is you didn't have the social media like it is now, and those are like, to me, the good old days when we weren't able to say everything that we think, good or bad. But now these shows kind of depend on second screen technology. Like, you want everybody to be tweeting your show, Instagramming the memes. You kind of want that. So as a producer, are you thinking all of this throughout the show of like, I'm hoping to get a big social media reaction, I'm hoping this, does that play into everything for you now?
Yes, absolutely. Listen, there's so many shows that the audience has to choose from.
Yeah.
And you want your show to sing amongst the crowd. You want it to stand out amongst the crowd. So you desire to have your shows have a social media following, to trend on Twitter, so people can say, "What's that show? Love and Marriage? What is that? Do I need to watch this?"
Which one
I
do I
would,
have to watch? Which franchise? Yeah, where
yeah,
do I
yeah.
start?
You want it to be a part of those conversations, Ryan, because it's hard to. There's so many options,
Yeah.
and people aren't watching TV in real time anymore, and they're not watching a full season like they used to. Like you said, with Potomac, it's like your sports. So you're gonna watch it until the end, although some episodes may feel softer to you than normal, but you're still gonna give it its proper due of watching for the full season. So a brand new show is something we have to really work hard to get people to watch, and to watch it live or watch it 3 days of airing a DVR, so those ratings numbers can count. But it's a very competitive business, and the TV industry is definitely going through a interesting transition, Ryan, because it's less hours on television that we're able to produce for, but we also have to make sure to feed the audience what they want. So it's a trying time.
Yeah, I mean, and there's an artistry behind it as well. So, like, I mean, we want you out there seeing like the next big thing. Like, do you still go out in your daily life? Do you always have an eye out for interesting relationships, interesting people, that kind of star quality?
Oh yes, no, because I love real people. I love constantly thinking about, like, what is next? Who? What am I missing? Who am I missing? I did a funny call to action recently when Monica Garcia from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City appeared, and I said, "Find me the black version of Monica Garcia," because I need to find that type of woman to build a show around, because I was so fascinated by her and what she brought to that show, and how iconic and amazing she was. And she really reinvigorated something in me that was missing, because I want to get inspired, and Monica Garcia inspired me to go out there and look for, like, all types of versions of her.
I mean, I'm so glad you brought that up because, you had mentioned that in one of this week's episodes. You brought up Monica's name just in an offhanded remark. But I just loved her so much. I loved her so much even before the reality Von Tease of it all. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you have the mom relationship. You
Yes.
have stuff that we haven't delved into about her previous relationship. I was like, that's a great second season right there. The reality Von Tease of it all. And this is how desensitized I feel. I still to this day, I'm like, I don't really see the big. I know. I mean, like, I can tell you 5 housewives right now, big name housewives that have Finsta. I mean, you know that as well. Like,
Yes.
that's why I'm like, the fact that, and to me, and I know this is not popular because she is popular, but I also will never believe that Heather Gay did not know she was going to tell production that day. She sold the scene. She produced her own scene because, in fact, when you watch interviews, the producers are like, yeah, she told us. And we were like, so do you think the audience will care? She had to sell the idea, but I know she had that idea before she went in. And I thought it was brilliantly executed. What a great finale. But I still think I want to see underdogs. I want to see Monica be able to talk her way out of it or not talk her way out of it. And I still don't think, by the way, speaking of that, Carlos, you're such a huge fan. Do you agree that I don't think that was the best reunion performance Monica Garcia could have given?
Oh no, and I said this to her.
What did she say back?
She said, "Carlos, they cut out so much. You missed it." I said, your burn book was an epic fail. I said,
It
I
was like
expect
Carrot
more.
Top.
Yeah, no, truly, truly. So I said it to her. And she's like, "No, they didn't show everything. They didn't show everything." So no, I agree with you. I think Heather had an agenda. I think Heather doesn't want her information to be exposed, and she knew that Monica was going to expose it. And she said, "I need to get her off the show before she reveals the secrets that I'm keeping under wraps." And she got the other ladies, involved and saying this traitor is amongst us, right? And we have to get her off this show because she's going to reveal so much to the audience about the stuff that we know we're doing, but that we made a pact never to bring it up.
Yeah, I was like, did these people kill? Like, did they kill a hobo somewhere? Like, I felt like there was all of a sudden, I was like, what is going on? But also, like, I want that kind of mess, and I also want to see them talk through those things because in Housewives, we saw it with Meredith Marks and Lisa Barlow. Like, they were like insanely furious with each other 2 seasons ago, and all of a sudden they're doing scenes together like nothing's happening. Like, relationships are meant to be mended in terms of Real Housewives, and I will always be sad that we did not start off this season with that because they're doing new castings and I got a lot of information about them. I mean, but do you think there's a world in which Monica does come back? Because I definitely think so.
Yes. There's always room for a mid-season surprise, right? There's always room for that. And I think, listen, I haven't heard anything about what's happening currently as they're filming Salt Lake City, which to me isn't great.
Yeah.
Just like we didn't hear much that was going on with Beverly Hills because as we saw this season, nothing was going on. So it's not a good sign. So I could definitely see the way Beverly Hills brought back Denise Richards and Camille. And it was like, what is this reunion that is happening with the Where Are They Now? Because I think they felt like we need something to happen. So I saw that to say, I don't think we saw the last of Monica. I think they had to maybe let the girls prove they don't need her. And I'm not too sure they're pulling that off.
But yeah, well, sometimes I think with also then to prove, I sometimes think then people are forced to overdo it because they're trying to then prove to production they can do it. And I just don't want to see a lot of fake fights because I think the audience will see through that pretty much immediately. But speaking of Aaron Spelling, if Aaron Spelling was doing this, you would see Monica show up on the very last episode of the season finale of the next season of Salt Lake. And it would just be like a shot of shoes walking up. And then she'll be like, I'm here to tease the reality. What's that? And they would just end and shoot to black and to be continued. I mean, yeah, like Carlos is like, I'll deal with that. Listen, I have about 10 more minutes with you or a little bit less, but
I'm gonna try. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, so I was saying another thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of Beverly Hills and next season is in, casting. We left this season, great ratings, solid ratings after Lisa Rinna, but we have Kyle going through this, obviously, separation, potential divorce. The Morgan Wade of it all consistently gets brought up to the point where I don't care anymore. I like seeing Morgan Wade on television. I kind of just think that's interesting. I want her to come back in some way. But if we don't ever, I just truly don't at this point care. Is there a world, and I've heard you say this, and I'm curious your reasons why, is you think Teddi Mellencamp should come back to Beverly Hills. You think that at some point she should. And in my thought was like, do you think as a producer, would you ever offer Kyle a deal to sweeten her pot, to make her comfortable, to say, we'll bring Teddi back. We know that's one of your BFFs. We want you to feel great about this next season. Is that how production works in any way, Carlos?
Well, you never want to give that much power to one person because they more than likely could abuse it. And you don't ever want to show a certain level of favoritism to one cast member because it will unfortunately make it seem like, oh, well, she gave you that, so she gets this. So I'm going to try to do the same thing. Why can't I get what she got? I did it. So you don't want to fall into those territories. So what you have to do is just have real conversations and say to someone like a Kyle, look, what is going to make you comfortable sharing the story? Because it's important and the audience wants to know. And if she says, like, I don't have a friend on the show, I'm not comfortable revealing things. And then
Anna Marie got let go. We need somebody.
Right, exactly, right? So, like, what are we doing? And I think that's when you say to yourself as producer, let's at least try to bring somebody back that she's comfortable with, and let's see what happens. The thing with Teddi that I don't get, Teddi is not the first nor the last housewife to have social media hate them. I will go as far as to say the hatred that Teddi Mellencamp received is the same treatment that Dorit is receiving currently, and Dorit has not lost her job. And I feel bad for Kyle because Kyle is so real, and I could tell she wants to give a lot more, but I don't think there's one woman amongst that current cast that she trusts implicitly. Yeah. And when you have somebody that's been on that show since day one, you at least have to bring on somebody that they trust.
Yeah, it feels like coworkers at this point, like coworkers that do a good, but they do a good job. Like it's good coworkers. But like you said, Kyle's very open, and but I want her to be even sometimes more open. Like after buying Beverly Hills, I want to see that Kyle more. I want her to feel comfortable in that way. But also the Teddy of it all. I think with the Teddy, it gets to a point also that it's just what she represents. It's now it takes on a life of its own with the joking. But also at the same time, watching Beverly Hills, I never thought she was a force. I didn't really see that as a viewer at all. So I'd be curious to see, because I think it's going to happen. Like people need to accept that this will happen. She will get back on Beverly Hills.
You think she will?
This season or 100%, 100%. I think she completely will. I think this is just in the bag completely. You still are on the fence?
No, listen, I have been championing for Teddy to come back for the past 2 years. And what's funny is because I sometimes guest co-host on their podcast, 2Ts. And she mentioned she filmed last season. They never aired it. And apparently she got into a little argument with somebody. And she said they wanted her to come back. And she said, I'm not working for free. But we never saw the scene. So but also, isn't it hard when you have that for like the podcast, like it works for Tamra, but also with like Teddy Cronkite or whatever they call her on the, like, isn't it then hard? I mean, yeah, Teddy Walter, isn't it then hard to then like try? It's another, not reality Von Tease in a sense, but you want these ladies to feel like they're not going to get shit talked by one of their own on a podcast potentially. That's sometimes I wonder if that goes through a producer's head at all. Well, that's when you have to put things in place. You have to put things in place in their agreements that dictate what can and cannot be said, because at the end of the day, every reality star who signs on to do a show, there's a non-disclosure language in the agreement. So you would have to insert the actual podcast, which listen, not to get in the weeds of it, I'm assuming that's what they're doing to Tamara, which is why she's not allowed to recap OC. Every time OC is on the air, she gets somebody else to do her job for her. So yeah, but again, that's an easy situation to fix. I want Beverly Hills to be the greatest that it can be. And I just think Teddy, who is so close to the force multiplier on the show, and I feel like Teddy has learned her lesson.
You think Teddy's close to being a force multiplier?
No. Teddy's close to the force multiplier.
Kyle. I was like, wow. Okay. I was like, what? Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
I will say this. Teddy learned her lesson from not being a great housewife her first 2 seasons. And the Teddy who I know today, quote me, Teddy will run circles around that entire cast. Mark my word.
Yes, but then also I think goes on with what we were just talking about Salt Lake. You don't want to feel like you don't want to have somebody come back and they feel like they need to throw everything against the wall immediately. Like, I got to do everything immediately. Like, that's like Noella did that a little bit on OC her first season, where she threw everything against the wall, like crying into a river, all of that stuff. But no, listen, man, you are a legend. And I just got to say to you, like, sometimes I will feel down and I will read something that you wrote or see you talk about, blessings and manifestation. And you seem like, for such a powerful person, you really seem like you have such a good sense of self and a good sense of humbleness. And I think, you really are very inspiring and always have been to me. So it is truly, I'm not joking when I say this is a blessing, because I got offered this and I was like, are you kidding? I've wanted to talk to this man for years. So Brian. I hope I know you are so busy, so I hope this was enjoyable somewhat for you.
It so
Because
was. You can't tell.
yeah, no, I know, but listen, you do that. You make it easy on anybody you talk to. That's part of your charm, and that's why you guys need to get tickets to one of these live shows. I'm telling you. This I was just listening to his podcast this morning and he just cracked me up. He was talking about Monica's boyfriend Inc. And what was the line I wrote down that I just was like, I don't usually laugh out loud. He says, Mia took the hall pass and went to the second floor of the gymnasium. And he was talking about the hall pass that Gordon gave her. And I was like, the specificity in that joke was so tight that I was like, I got to write this down. Like this is amazing. Anyways, his tour is going to sell out, so get your tickets now. New Jersey, Teresa, Legend, Atlanta, Tamar Braxton, Irvine, California, with Teddy and Tamra, and then DC with the entire cast of Love and Marriage DC. So on top of that, Reality with the King podcast. Go subscribe. And also, I know he doesn't need it, but go rate 5 stars immediately. That's what we do to people that take the time to come on this show. That's a blessing in itself. So we want to give something back. And just, I just can't say enough good things. Where do we start, man? For honest, like Love and Marriage. If we are not familiar with the Love and Marriage franchise, where do you suggest we start? Where do we enter? Because some people will say from the very beginning, and some people will be like, no, start over here and start with this season. What do you recommend for people?
Good question. Okay, so for Love and Marriage Huntsville, which is the #1 show on the Oprah Winfrey Network, that show, you start with season 1. Okay. Because it's a lot of mess going on, and you got to watch season 1 to understand it. For Love and Marriage DC, start with season 2.
Okay, season 2.
Hey, balloons. And for Love and Marriage Detroit, start with season 1. Season 2 is coming soon, so... and you can find it on the Oprah Winfrey Network or the Oprah Winfrey Network app, or go to Max. Max has
they have all the shows, and Bold and Bougie, you guys, is on WeTV, so that's on WeTV, but everywhere. And also, I forgot to say on his podcast, he just had Apollo. He had Apollo Nita. He had Apollo. He always has Dr. Heavenly on his like YouTube. Like he just knows everybody. So it's so exciting where you're going to head from here. And I really do hope I get to talk to you again, Carlos, because this was a real treat to start my weekend. So you guys, I'm going to put all that information. I'm going to potentially even go to the Irvine show. So
I can see you in person.
Yeah, I hope that would be amazing. I'll be wearing my Reality Von Teese outfits and just in a corner somewhere. By the way, could you build a show around Monica? Could you pitch a show?
I would listen. I would love to. Listen, that woman belongs on somebody's television screen.
Right? There's so much yet to uncover. I really do. And I think you got to fall in love with new ladies. There's new ladies out there for us to fall in love with. New queens, as you call them. There are quintessential housewives that we have not discovered yet. And I think that is the exciting thing when somebody you actually do respond to in the first season, which Monica was. So Carlos King, thank you for all this time. Have the best weekend. What are you doing this weekend?
Sleeping.
Uh-oh. Let's cut that out. That's wild. Let's cut it out.
I got to get ready for the tour and 10 more episodes. So on the weekends, right, I like to decompress. So
awesome.
Sleeping.
Well, I will talk to you hopefully very soon, and we'll talk to you guys later.